Hello and welcome to Cloud Speed by Deloitte. In this regular podcast series, we'll delve into the world of cloud, answering some of those tricky questions, getting to grips with all that cloud has to offer, and keeping you up to speed on recent developments. So let's begin, shall we? Here is your host, Arti Balakrishnan.
Welcome to the second episode of Cloud Speed. Today, we're going to be exploring whether adopting cloud is a business or a technology transformation, and the role that cloud fluency plays in this. I'm Arti Balakrishnan, a director in our cloud engineering practice, your host for this episode. With me is Suresh Kanwa. Suresh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Arti, thank you very much for including on this. Very excited to be part of this podcast with you today. My name is Suresh Kanwa. I lead our UK capital markets practice for Deloitte. And a lot of my focus over the last 20, 25 years with our clients has been on technology transformation and ops transformation within investment banking.
Thank you, Suresh. Suresh, what I want to sort of delve into straight away is your exposure to both business and technology transformation. What are your everyday conversations with clients like? And what is one topic that seems to figure most in those conversations?
So one topic, that's a difficult question. I think if I think about yesterday or today even already, the topics that come up repeatedly in any client conversation will be AI, data, and cloud is ever present in all of those conversations. And harnessing the power of cloud is ever present in those conversations.
Let's get straight to it then. Do you think adoption of cloud is a business or a technology transformation?
So it's both in today's environment. It's both. If we think through why any client embarks on any aspect or any type of change journey, whether that includes an organization like ours or not, whether they're doing it by themselves, it tends to be for one of three reasons. So they're either trying to find a way to propel revenue growth, number one, or number two, they've got some form of cost transformation agenda, and that's the underlying cause for that journey. Or the three is there's some level of mandatory change, and those mandatory and critical initiatives could be regulatory driven, might be cyber, or they might be related to some form of other survival. But in each of those three categories, there's a business driver and a technology driver. So it's very hard to separate those from one another. They go hand in hand for me.
And the business leaders that are driving these transformation initiatives, do you think they're equipped to use cloud effectively? Also, do they understand what it takes to drive a technology transformation? And are there any examples that you've got where we've tried different things to help them sort of get up to speed?
So I think more than ever today, they understand how technology transformation, but cloud, AI, data tools can help them on the business front to achieve some of the outcomes that they're looking for themselves. They've started to understand that the hugely scalable nature of cloud, the fact that it is lower cost, the fact that you can stand up these environments at speed and with agility, what that can do for their business. But that's an ongoing journey for them. And one of the greatest examples I think we've seen of that, where we've helped business leaders come along on that journey, is our Digital Leaders Program. And that's one where we've worked with a number of clients to educate them, make them more tech savvy, make them more tech fluent, but really start to understand actually how can they harness the power of cloud for themselves. But I know, Arti, that's something that you've obviously been close to yourself.
Yes, and the more the business leaders are equipped to identify the use cases, the better the utilization of cloud itself is. Oftentimes, I feel like cloud is a solution looking for a problem. And unless the business leaders are equipped to come up with the right use cases to maximize its value, it's a sledgehammer available to crack a nut. Suresh, in my experience, cloud, like many large transformation program, requires years of focus. And I think many clients struggle to retain this focus. What would be a recommendation for them to keep true to that journey?
So at the heart of it, I mean, you just described this, all large-scale technology business transformations that are multi-year. run into challenges at some point. And the only way that I see really to drive through that is the business case. We need to understand what the benefits are of the transformation that we're enacting or enabling within the organization. That business case evolves because if it changes as a result of time, it changes as a result of other brand new technology, it can change as a result of other environmental factors. But keeping that business case updated, keeping it at the forefront of mind, and understanding really what are those benefits that this is going to drive in terms of the organization, for the organization's clients, for the organization's people, for its cost, for its profit. We've got to keep that at the forefront of mind. That's the only way that I see is really driving through those multi-year programs.
I'd like to add to that by mentioning the people that drive these programs make most of the difference, the mindsets with which they approach the program itself. There is a lot of instances where I've observed people marketing the startup culture but not quite understanding what that means. The startup culture is about having the curiosity and the ability to pivot when things change. Having the curiosity to learn new things is absolutely sort of fundamental for any cloud transformation program. And then being able to pivot when new technologies arrive is the bit that I find most organizations struggle with. And that comes purely down to the people that are working in the environment and how agile they are in adapting to these changes. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And those types of individuals, I think, are quite rare. Those that can imagine that future, that do have an understanding of the business, what needs to change, the challenges that it's facing, and an understanding of the technology that can be used or implemented to solve some of those challenges. Those people are rare. They're less rare than they were probably a decade ago, but they're still rare, and they are key. And their mindset, as you just said, that's essential.
I think in as much as the business case and the choice of use case is going to significantly influence the transformation program, I think the make or break factor is the people that are working on the program itself and the mindset they bring in. I've found that teams that have inherently curious people that are willing to learn and are exercising a growth mindset and are willing to pivot and change based on the change in technology are the most successful. Sometimes I've seen clients take up a easier route in that they will stand up a new line of business with a cloud first agenda. That way you don't have the shackles of the old organization and you can get things right from the start. While that feels like an easier route, you cannot completely divorce yourself from the rest of the organization. And you end up noticing that as you scale this new setup, you're struggling to scale it because you're still reliant on the old organization to do this. What needs to happen is the whole organization needs to pivot. While the transition may be slow, everyone needs to have the right mindset and the ability to learn these new technologies. On that subject, I would now like to pivot to the risk and regulatory stakeholders. We spoke quite a bit about the business stakeholders and the technologists. The risk and regulatory stakeholders have the ability to change the pace of delivery. And what are your thoughts on that? And how are they responding to adoption of cloud itself, specifically in financial services, which is highly regulated?
So I think it's one of those situations where quite often to look forwards, we need to understand where we've come from, and it's very possible that future generations are going to be wondering why we didn't adopt cloud at a much faster pace, given all of its potential use cases, not just in terms of lower cost storage, but also in terms of the huge processing capability that it adds to firms, especially that we can envisage now in an AI-fueled environment. And one of those blockers for us over the last decade or so has been the regulators, especially some of the concerns that there were around data privacy in the public cloud. More recently, regulators have become clearly much more open to cloud adoption, cloud transformation journeys within clients, and they see it actually even as an essential part of the transformation for our clients. I think regulatory reporting is a great use case. Some of the work that's been done in that space on cloud has been at the core of transformation of those functions within the banks right now. One of the things I'd be more concerned about as a regulator today, though, is possibly the technology debt that this might create for the future, and how how do we lessen the burden of that debt for future? And I'm sure you've got lots of views on this.
When we're talking about the topic of tech debt, we've been covering various facets that drive tech debt in the first place throughout our conversation today. One is about the business leadership having the ability to understand the technology that is solutioning their business process and that whole digital leadership that we were covering. The second is about the technologists having the curiosity to learn the new technologies, and both business and tech having the agility to pivot to new technologies as and when they evolve, and being able to leverage partner relationships to help you get there quicker. We as an organization have been using our partner relationships effectively to help our people keep up to speed on this, but I don't see all of our clients on the same page on that as yet. The second bit is there is going to be some level of technical debt. You're not going to be able to stop that. The pace of change is so high that there is going to be technical debt. What you can do is effectively contain it. And the containment comes from that digital leadership, the curiosity to learn, and the agility to pivot. Thank you so much for the very engaging and insightful discussion, Suresh.
Aarti, thank you so much for having me and allowing me to be a part of this, a topic that creates so much, I guess, impassioned debate around cloud adoption, the pace of change, and also views about the vendors as well.
Before we close off today, I'm going to be handing over to Sundar Ramaswamy, the lead solution architect for our Google Cloud Alliance, to catch us up on the updates from the Google Next event.
Sure. Thanks, Arati, for the introduction and excited to be part of this conversation. I will spend the next few minutes talking about some of the exciting list of announcements that came out from the Google Cloud Next event for this year. Now, as most of you might already know, this was a first of its kind virtual event spanning across 9 weeks. And there were significant product announcements made every week. So I plan to walk you through three key ones that I feel are game changers and will have a disruptive effect on the cloud landscape. The first one is the introduction of Omni, which is a flexible multi-cloud analytics solution. So Omni lets you access and analyze data in a secure and cost-effective manner, not just in Google Cloud, but also AWS and Azure. BigQuery is Google's serverless, completely managed data warehouse, and Omni extends its capability even further. Now, it does this by allowing the ability to gain critical business insights from a single pane of glass. This distinctly improves data driven decision making, especially for organizations who have data scattered across multiple public clouds. Omni is an extension of Google's continued innovation and commitment to multi cloud, and it also brings to the table supreme analytics and data warehouse technology, no matter where your data is stored. There's really no need to move or copy data from other public clouds into Google Cloud for using Omni. Customers can simply tap into the power of BigQuery to cost efficiently break down data silos and make analytics work. In addition, customers get a unified analytics experience across their data sets, be it in Google Cloud, AWS, or Azure. So I feel that this is truly a game changer. Now, the second announcement was around the artificial intelligence and machine learning piece. So Google introduced real-time AI solutions around anomaly detection, pattern recognition, and predictive forecasting. This can be used across multiple industries. Anomaly detection allows companies to identify or even predict abnormal patterns in their data. There are many use cases to this. A large retailer, for example, might be interested in identifying positive buying behaviors. A financial services provider might want to detect fraud, or a telecom company, for that matter, might be more interested in identifying or even mitigating potential threats and behavioral patterns. Google Cloud allows the customer the ability to build a secure system or a real-time system rather, which can detect anomalies with a few button clicks. This can then be integrated with insights via dashboards for storytelling. It can also be used to trigger an action or to create a ticket in a ticketing system for additional investigation and tracking purposes. The third exciting announcement was around the introduction of a confidential computing portfolio. Now, make no mistake, Google already employs a variety of isolation and sandboxing techniques to make its multi tenant architecture secure. Confidential virtual machines take this to the next level by offering memory encryption so that customers can further isolate workloads in the cloud. Confidential computing can help transform the way organizations process data in the cloud while preserving security and privacy. Amongst other benefits, organizations will be able to collaborate with each other without compromising the confidentiality of data sets. This collaboration, in turn, can lead to the development of more transformational technologies and ideas. So, imagine, for example, in the current scenario, being able to more quickly build vaccines or cure diseases as a result of this secure collaboration. That's how powerful it is. So, that in a nutshell was about the main updates that came out from the Google Cloud Next event this year. And with that, I'll hand it over back to Aarti.
Thank you so much for those updates, Sundar. I'm personally looking forward to deploying a number of these solutions at our clients. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. We saw that business transformation is driven by the coming together of business leaders, technologists, risk and regulatory leaders, and is increasingly powered by cloud. Until the next episode, this is me, Aarti Balakrishnan, signing off and looking forward to catching up with you in our next episode, Cloud Speed.